Welcome to Sarah Talks Food. Today I sit down with Eva Bee. You might know her as the host of Eva Bee's Jamboree here in Ottawa. She's also just launched her new show, Om Nom Ottawa, on Bell 5, Channel 1. And Eva Bee and I had a nice opportunity about 4 years ago to sit down and connect. And she was asking some advice on sort of where she should take her business, what she should do with her business, and how she should move forward. And she knew one thing for certain. She wanted to serve others. She knew another thing for certain. She wanted to work in food and food service. And she also knew that she wanted to find her way to the Ballymaloe School of Cookery in Ireland. Well, 4 years later, after I've kind of followed her along a little bit here and there, she has graduated as a personal chef from the Ballymaloe School of Cookery, and she has just launched her own new personal chef business. So what I love most about this girl is the fact that somebody like her, just a young girl with a dream, can just go off and take leaps of faith. And she truly has done that. And a lot of it stemmed from the fact that she herself deals with gluten intolerance. And I say that because we kind of think of gluten insensitivity or gluten intolerance or celiac disease as maybe something that just, bothers people's tummies. They just have to stay away from gluten. They just can't eat bread. In her case, she was finding that she was actually dealing with mental disorders because of it. She was dealing with hallucinations. She was having voices in her head. She was dealing with anxiety and depression. And this was all related to her gluten insensitivity. And so I just thought that this would be a great conversation to share with you, because I think a lot of people out there are thinking, I just don't feel great. I don't feel my best, but the doctors don't seem to know how to define it or describe it or prescribe it for it. And this might be an opportunity for you to look at what you're eating and your environment and to clean it up and maybe change things a little bit to hopefully help you to feel your very best. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, where Eva's going to get very personal on what happened in her life, and also just inspired on the fact that if you've got a mission and a dream in your life, if you've got something that you just can't wait to share with other people, take those leaps of faith, take those next steps, and those next steps, you never know where they're going to lead you, but we certainly don't get anywhere standing still. I'm inspired by Eva Bee. I hope you are too. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Eva Bee. I'm so excited to chat with Eva Bee. She is somebody who has inspired me, and we've developed a relationship over the last probably 4 or 5 years. So I'm so excited, Eva, to have you here with me today.
I'm excited too. It's so nice to talk to you again.
Over the last little while, I just can't believe what this girl has accomplished. So I was just so excited to get to sit down with her today and to share her with all of you and have a conversation about how, Eva, you've kind of taken that first leap of faith and turning it into a business that you have now.
Well, I'd like to just say thank you, because to have that perception of my career is really humbling, because when you're insecure and you don't really know what direction you're going into, to have this affirmation is a wonderful thing.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you feel that way. And isn't that the truth? Don't we always need at least a couple of cheerleaders, or just even one cheerleader in our camp?
Because it could look like on the outside, oh my God, so-and-so is doing so much. And we all know that we put our best face on social media, for example. And so, you never know the struggles that people go through. So again, I'm so grateful to be here, because you are putting the spotlight on people who have had struggles and just showing that we're all the same, we're all in this together.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't have said it better. We are all one. We've all gone through stuff, and no one ever gets anywhere on a straight line. It really does.
And I think there's so many benefits to social media, but I think one of the cons is that people feel this pressure to be perfect, and we only see perfection in a way. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of the individual struggle and you can equate this to your own ego. Your ego is always striving for this outer mask of protection in looking perfect. And I think we need a little more humanity, a little more vulnerability in society, because I know with a lot of, for example, when Robin Williams passed away, there was a lot of discussion all of a sudden about how there's stigma about mental illness. And I think that's part of this whole showing this perfect mask in public. I think people are afraid to express that they have problems or struggles. And it could be very self-destructive.
I totally agree with that. I'm talking to so many people who we all seem to have felt that profound sadness when we lost Robin Williams, and not more so than others, but it just felt so profound when it came to him, that person that made us laugh all the time. Yeah. And all of a sudden he's gone out of the world, and it just seems so wrong. And I agree. And I have mental illness in my family. My father died with depression. And I certainly have had bouts of it myself, and being a recovering alcoholic, I can certainly relate to the feelings of depression. And I do a lot of work to help myself to not go down that dark path, for sure. But I agree with you. I think that there's so much pressure to be perfect, to have it all figured out, to know exactly what we want to do. I was even talking with a 17-year-old girl the other day, and she is panicking because she's finishing high school and she feels that she has to know what she wants to do. Some of her friends know what they want to go off and do after, for college and then beyond. And she just has no idea what she wants to do. And I'm thinking, she's 17.
I just want to laugh because the whole sentence, know what to do. I feel like it's such a loaded statement. There's all these preconceptions of what to do. It means have a strive for a 6-figure income and have a house with 2 garage doors. It's almost like people who don't fit on that path are trying to box themselves into that.
And let alone, be a doctor, a lawyer, a veterinarian, like have a label of a job. And yet there are so many jobs and beautiful careers out there that people like you are carving out for yourself that certainly have no job description. There's no, college degree for the kinds of things that you're doing. I mean, yes.
Well, there are several.
Yeah.
Pool together, but
that's
just style. I'm not somebody who, I'm somebody who gets bored very easily. So yes, I have my hand in a lot of different hats, so to speak.
And so that's probably what's led you to be an entrepreneur and to be able to take on this task, because you're able to, you're so interested in so many different things. So let's talk about what you're doing now. And before we do that, let's kind of build it up a little bit. So after you and I met, we sat around that table, we talked about your goals, your dreams, your visions of what you wanted to do. We knew it had to do with serving others. We knew it had to do with food and health and gluten-free and food intolerances. You talked a lot about that. And you knew that deep in your heart, you really wanted to go to the Ballymaloe School of Cookery, I think it's called.
Ballymaloe Cookery School.
Okay. And so that's in Ireland.
On its own.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's in Ireland?
Yes.
So you knew you wanted to do that, and you said to me, I have no idea how I'm going to get there. So
let's start. You know what? The weird thing is, I couldn't even tell you why. There's just something that drew me there. I didn't have any affinity for Ireland, Irish culture. I knew I would probably love it, but I'm from Serbia, and I don't really have any sense of Western Europe and what it's like. So that was my first, well, maybe not first big leap of faith, but that was certainly one that put me in my path.
So how did you make it happen to get to enroll in the school, to get the money together to go, and then to make that leap of faith to get there?
Well, speaking of drinking, I stopped drinking completely. I didn't go out to eat. I worked. I wasn't really in a healthy state, so I didn't really quite work full time. I had a 4.5-day-a-week job at the Red Apron. Very grateful for that experience. And with that, I also organized a fundraising concert. And I also did a pop-up thrift shop. So I gathered so much clothing and random junk from really gracious friends, and I set it up at a cafe on Somerset and just scrounged. I really scrounged for money. Some of my family helped out a little bit, but I mean, it was a huge tuition.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a private school basically for cooking. They basically condense what you would get in a 2-year college program into 3 months. So you live full time on an 18th century farmhouse setup that they've renovated to be this incredible school. They invite internationally renowned chefs. So I really, truly learned from the best. These weren't people who, these are great mentors for me, because these aren't people who just go do their job. These are people who do it because they have to. The proprietor, Dorina Allen, she's such a huge inspiration for me. She works her butt off. She's constantly writing for newspapers, sharing her recipes. She even said to everyone in class, time and time again, if anybody asks you for a recipe, give it to them. She really believes in karma, but not in a blind way. I mean, she's a very smart businesswoman. She's clearly doing very well for herself. But anyway, so I got myself there, and I ended up staying an extra 2 months because I really felt like beyond the 2 years, I wanted to learn more. So they had a 2-week business of food course, which I learned tons from. And then all of a sudden it was over. And I thought to myself, well, what do I do now with this degree? I knew I wanted to come here. I knew I wanted to be in food. I took a business course, thought that would spark something. It did kind of, but it still wasn't very clear. So I did a blogging residency at the school. They had a food and wine festival that invited even huger food celebrities. So I wrote all about their books that they were promoting at this festival. And so it was my crash course in food photography and food writing, because I really would love to go into that as well. But and I don't know, I really went there because I really needed to know, okay, is this for me?
And you realize that it absolutely, truly is for you, because when you got back, I know that you were then asked to be the cook for a TV show here in Ottawa, and you ended up cooking for the cast and crew.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was such a funny coincidence. I felt like when I got back, I wasn't really happy with where I was at. It was just such an idyllic, beautiful place to be in Ireland, in the world. And then all of a sudden I was faced with this reality of wanting to start a business, not having the capital or the time allotted to it. And then I felt like this job kind of came out of nowhere. It just, through being connected in the film industry, this producer got my resume and she asked me to cook for a cast and crew of this TV show. And I was like, yes. Yes, a break. But it wasn't really a break, but it was, because that in itself, I mean, everything that happens in life is such a crash course in a way. So there were so many great things about that job, some hard things. For instance, I had to cook, this was a cottage renovation show and was filmed in the winter. So some of these cottages were 3-season. So I became a really good slow cooker cook.
Yeah.
I cooked over fire. It definitely did not have the ability to cook all these amazing French pastries that I had learned in school. So it was kind of like very, very big extremes in 1 year of my life.
And it's fun because you had already had some experience with TV anyway through your own show, Eva Bee's Jamboree, which is hilarious and fun to watch. And if you haven't watched it out there, I highly encourage you to check it out. Eva Bee's Jamboree is all about highlighting local food and local musicians. And so it's kind of a blend of the two with Eva's, comedy. So I would say that you're part actress, part comedian, part chef, and part inspirational entrepreneur. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's no college program for that.
Yeah, exactly. That just happens.
Yeah. Well, it happens because I've always known I've wanted to be a performer in some way. But I also have the skills and the love of cooking, and also I feel kind of like any chef who's socially responsible has the ability to be an environmental steward. You can choose where you get your food from and the quality of it, and you're helping to nourish people.
But I'm curious though about your perception on what's going on with food allergies? I know you've done a lot of research and studying on food allergies. You do a lot of work with creating recipes for people that have food allergies. And so what brought that on? Because I know even you yourself decided to go gluten-free. So are you celiac or gluten intolerant?
I haven't been tested for celiac. I did NATE testing for gluten intolerance. And I know that for celiac, you have to either have a biopsy or a blood test. And I haven't done either of those because you have to be on gluten for a few weeks. And it was just such a huge health change in my life. I would not even think of eating gluten for a few weeks.
And actually they say that you know, if you really feel so much better after eliminating gluten from your diet, why bother going through all of that testing? If you truly feel so much better, then just go ahead and eat a gluten-free diet. I mean, that just seems to work. Yeah.
There are those instances though where you're at a restaurant, like part of being a chef, unfortunately and fortunately, is having to keep on top of things. And I don't have to, but I feel like it's my responsibility to know what's in food and what people are eating and how people are dining, so I can serve my customers better. But I go to a place and I really want to try X, and it's fried in a fryer with onion rings or whatever. And there's cross-contamination possibilities, and I know I'm pretty darn sensitive, whether I'm celiac or not. But I cave, and I just don't feel good about it.
Okay, so you are one of those people that, you know, you definitely can either cheat or cave, or you go for that non-gluten.
Yeah, I don't get the symptoms that I did prior to eliminating gluten completely. So I do believe that I'm not celiac, but even with celiacs, there are degrees of insensitivities.
100%, absolutely. I've done a lot of work. You know, Kathy Smart. I've done a lot of work with her, learning so much from her with being gluten. She's celiac, and certainly there are a lot of people there. You know, it's what's the word? Anyway, it's a line, and you know, you're sort of either over here, or you can be here, you can be in the middle, you can be at the far end. I mean, it just really depends on where you're at with it, from gluten intolerance to sensitivity to full-blown celiac disease. So yeah, everyone can kind of feel better, you know, different ways from having the contamination.
Yeah.
But when you talk about serving your customers and wanting to be able to know, you know, what's out there and being able to serve them better, I really love that approach. It sounds like you're really committed to making sure that you're feeding them with wholesome, nourishing food.
Absolutely.
You have a new business that I want to talk about. You've just launched your new business. So you've got Eva Bee's Jamboree. You're a blogger. You are, you are a personal chef. And so now you've taken all of that into your new business. So let's talk about that.
Yes, so I just started a personal chef business. I've been doing it essentially part-time for about 4 years. It kind of happened where I took an herbalism course for over 4 years. And one of the exchange opportunities was to cook for the group. And this was before I even knew I had food intolerances, and they wanted it to be gluten-free. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I love to experiment with food, no problem. So they really loved the food, and I realized I love to take this approach of any food for anyone insensitive to anything can be delicious. It can be comfort food. You don't have to diet and starve yourself of the beauty of food, of the indulgence of it. There is so much out there. It's every time somebody's like, oh, I'm sorry you're gluten intolerant. I'm like, what do you mean? There's so much out there. You know, it's this weird like shaming, like, oh, what can you eat anyway? I mean, that's such a weird.
It's that feeling of that peer pressure of everyone sort of looking down at you if you don't do what they're doing. And so I find that society, food intolerances or making healthy choices, you know, it is funny, these people that say, yo, you poor thing. And it's, oh my gosh, I remember a girlfriend of mine said to me after she tried a recipe that I had posted a year ago now, before I even started my blog. And she actually came up to me not long after and she said, I realize you don't have it so bad. And I'm thinking, I don't have it so bad. I have it great. I have it healthy. I have it happy. I love my life. I love the way I eat. Like I don't feel sacrifice. That's not what this is about at all. This is about self-respect and self-love. It has nothing to do.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you turned that around.
Oh.
It's very easy to succumb to peer pressure. And I think in terms of the perception in society about food intolerances, we're a very pop science educated society. I just heard that term recently and I love it because we latch on to ideas of food fads based on maybe one published paper with 30 people who have been tested or analyzed. There's such an issue in terms of the way journalists explain science, especially food science. Everybody is different, and I believe that it's very, very complicated. So I think that, especially with like, oh, well, are you celiac then? I get that question a lot. It's like, well, no, I'm gluten intolerant, but I think there's not enough science to back up what being gluten intolerant is. We almost want these very clearly defined things to try to understand one another, and that's good in one way because you don't want food fads for the wrong reasons. But I don't know, I think people are looking for an answer that's not there yet, and the only real answer I can give people is that, like, listen, my panic attacks stopped. I lost all of my pain from my chronic pain in my leg when I stopped eating wheat. I used to have hallucinations. I used to feel the floor caving from underneath me. I used to hear voices. I didn't think I had like such a crazy upbringing that would induce this psychologically, but I kept looking for answers. I went from doctor to doctor. I didn't even know any of these things could be related to a food intolerance. And so, like, what am I gonna do when somebody challenges me on what I eat? Explain them my whole life story? I want to in a way, but I'm not gonna wanna go there every time. It's a difficult subject for me, and all I can say is that I'm so much happier and healthier now.
And so you went gluten-free, kind of cold turkey, I'm assuming? You sort of took your diet?
Yeah. I had nothing to lose, honestly. Honestly, I would say that it saved my life.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And so I didn't know about I knew a little bit about the physical issues that you were dealing with. I didn't know about the hallucinations and the psychological stuff. And that all went away when you eliminated gluten?
Well, I think because I've done a lot of research on it and I looked at a lot of scientific papers about it, like, how come I feel so much better? But yeah, they did. After a few months, I had to really go cold turkey. I didn't really, I think there were 2 times. I would say it took me about 6 months to really, to not feel so depressed because of these hallucinations and everything. There were 2 times where I had a bite of like a cinnamon bun. I remember very clearly I had a bite of a cinnamon bun and then I missed my bus and I started to cry. And I was like, whoa, like I can't believe I felt something so soon after eating wheat. And I know now there's so many breweries out there and I miss beer so much. So sometimes I would have a beer in recent memory and I would just feel awful. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. It's pretty bad. So yeah, it did in combination with going to therapy and really, I think having eaten gluten my whole life and being intolerant really destroyed my intestines probably. I mean, I didn't feel anything on that level physically, and that's why I didn't really know I had food intolerance. But in combination with seeing a holistic therapist / herbalist, Kathleen Leeson, love her, she recommended I take liquid supplements. So I did B vitamins and iron. I knew my iron was low my whole life and I didn't know why. And I think that the combination of the energetic work I did, the health and wellness work I did, and then eliminating the food intolerances, it was just a big combination. I wouldn't tell anybody, yeah, just eliminate gluten and you'll stop having hallucinations, you know?
Yeah. It sounds a lot like really putting yourself first for maybe the first time in a long time, and really trying to get to the root of what was going on with you, to heal not only your gut, but to heal your mind and to really heal your environment. And then I think that really opened up those doors for you to be able to take that leap of faith and then go on and be able to then guide other people. Because I know a big part of your new business, you help families who need to have a personal chef.
Yes.
You help them if they have food intolerances in the family, and you're able to educate and also to prepare meals that are safe for everybody to eat. So again, I think that nothing ever happens in a straight line. We don't ever get anywhere that way. It all kind of comes together. And now I'm sure you're sort of looking back and saying, okay, I made that decision that led to that decision that led to that one. And what a beautiful, mural that you're creating.
Oh, thank you for looking at it that way.
Yeah, I just think it's honestly one of those things where every time I hear more and more about what you're doing, I just think awesome, because you're an energetic, powerful young lady, and I look forward to so many more things that you're going to be doing in your career. So tell us, how can we reach you? I know you're on Bell 5. You've got your new TV show on Bell 5.
I just launched a new TV show this week. It's called Om Nom Ottawa, and it's on Bell 5. So any Bell 5 subscribers, so that's Windsor to Quebec City, who have that subscription can go to Channel 1 and you pick a city, and then you'll see Om Nom Ottawa. All 3 episodes are on demand, so you don't have to wait for a certain time or anything. It's all up there, and hopefully this winter I'll have 6 episodes online for people to watch too.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on that. And if anyone wants to learn more about Eva Bee and to and hire her for her personal chef services, then just go to evabee.com. And also you can check her out on Facebook, Twitter. Are you on Instagram as well?
Oh yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram. Fantastic. I cook. I have to take pictures of food.
That's the best. Well, I'll definitely put the link to your website, and you can reach Eva Bee at any of those links. It's funny because Eva Bee's name has become Eva Bee, and let's just quickly talk about that before we wrap up today, because it's hard for me to call you Eva or Eva Bee. Her name is Ivana. But she has officially changed her name, not officially, but you have changed your name to Eva Bee, and tell me why you've done that.
Well, first of all, for practical reasons, as I mentioned before, I'm Serbian, so my full name is Ivana Borojevic, and I think that, if I have that as my website, that'll be a little bit difficult for people to watch. And honestly, even though I just said my full name and explained a lot about my story, I do want some anonymity when you put yourself out there. I just wanted to create a character primarily for Eva Bee's Jamboree. And then I decided, you know what, this character I created for the show is very upbeat and bubbly and funny and kind of silly. As much as there are so many issues around food intolerances and health issues around that, I do think that food can lift people's spirits. And I just want to evoke that through my business name. So Eva Bee is not only my pen name for my blogging and my cooking shows, but it's also a part of the food too.
Well, I love it. And I totally agree that food absolutely can lift people up. I think it's one of the most important, integral parts of every bit of each day is putting in that healthy food and feeling good. And especially if you're dealing with food intolerances, making sure that you're not putting in food that's going to hurt, your body. And certainly Eva Bee can help you with that. She's done lots of research on all of the different.
I would love to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being with me here today, Eva Bee.
Chatting. This is great.
I look forward to chatting with you some more as well. And congratulations on all of your success.
Oh, thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Eva Bee as much as I did. She is an inspirational young lady to me. I find anybody that's going after their dreams and that has a vision and a passion and that's just making those steps to achieve it, I just find inspiration all over the place from people like that. The fact that she had a food intolerance that was quite debilitating, and yet she was still trying to make strides to move forward. But then when she was able to get through that breakthrough, make that breakthrough of getting rid of gluten in her diet so that she could live better, live larger, live happier, and be able to help others do the same, man, I think that's just a recipe for success. So I hope you follow her on Instagram for sure, and also on Twitter and Facebook. You can find all of her handles at evabee.com. I want you to love your life one bite at a time.